board meetings he's actually missed. This is very, very rare. Maybe one or two. His dedication and everyone else around this table never ceases to amaze me. So thank you for attending. We have a quorum. First item is to approve the agenda. We have a suggestion for the approval of the minutes to move after the good of the order, so we can discuss a couple bullet items in the minutes and alter them as needed for our discussions. Are there any other alterations or suggestions?
One other, Madam Chairman, on page 5, the second bullet from the bottom, you're going to have the executive committee call the order before we talk about what we did.
Okay.
You lost me. We can't have a report until we can't say we didn't do anything. We call the meeting to order. You didn't move into executive session on the minutes.
Oh, okay. So we're missing a step, Kathy.
So you're doing the correction of the minutes?
Right.
Is that what you're doing? Okay, because I thought we were not going to discuss the minutes until after the order.
That's not another issue. This was
something
that we're not going to correct the minutes for.
Okay.
Do you understand that? We made a motion to go into executive session. Amanda gave a report on pending litigation, and there was no action taken, and we came out of executive session. Okay. Thank you. We've been around too long. We understand each other.
All right, so with that, motion to approve the agenda.
So
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move into our employee recognition. This is some of our favorite parts of the board meeting. Pretty exciting. So,
You're going to do the maintenance guys?
yeah. I'm going to discuss the rodeo winners, the 2016 maintenance rodeo winners.
Hey, Lance and Steve. Lance and Steve, your ball's not full. Oh, sorry. Come on. They think great about it. Lance, Mike.
Oh.
They hate this part.
Oh,
Well, Steve doesn't.
Steve doesn't.
this is exciting. So, rodeo competitions among our most highly anticipated CDTA events. On the surface, they may look like fun, but they're opportunities to bring everyone together, be supportive, and in a team environment. Participants represent the best of our workforce. We hold 2 rodeos annually. In the bus operator rodeo, participants navigate a course that stimulates real-life driving solutions and situations. In the maintenance operation competition, our technicians are asked to diagnose a series of preset defects that are just like those they're asked to diagnose every day. On September 8th, our annual maintenance rodeo was held in Albany Technical Training Facility, with 12 technicians competing for brag medals. Taking home top honors this year were Albany technicians Phil Jordan, Ken Stager, and Jitendra Subdeo. Second place belongs to Arnold Dipnerine, Michelle Concepcion, and Nate Kane. We have to mention that Michelle is the first female mechanic who was placed in this competition. Awesome.
First to participate.
She did last year as well. First time?
Yeah.
The top 3 were Phil Haig, Mike Haig, and Jason Hitty, the 3 H's. Ken and Jitendra have competed in the state rodeo held in New York City last month. They will move on to represent CDTA at the International Aptitude Competition held annually in the spring. Congratulations to everyone who participated and won and brought home these wonderful awards.
Boss is coming up front.
Thank you.
I got a picture without names.
Georgie asked me to do the 3 recognition awards because, in her words, I know these 3 guys a little bit. So we're gonna do Ken Hardy first. Ken is an Albany bus operator and has been navigating the CDTA system for 20 years. In 1996, he joined our team as a star bus operator, and 1 year later, he moved to fixed route operations here in Albany. The rest is history. He's been here ever since. More than 19 years of driving, which, as many of you know, is a very, very difficult job. It's more than driving a bus. It's running a cash register. It's listening to people's issues, addressing problems. Most of the time, problems have absolutely nothing to do with CDTA service. And by the time the bus comes, my wife's mad at me, my husband's mad at me, and a bus driver has to listen to it all, and at the same time, keep on time, keep on schedule, stay safe, do all the other things that we ask. So Ken tells us so. The reason he stayed here is the quality benefits, the great work environment, and all the nice people that he's met here at CDTA. Because of all that and more, Ken says, this is his word, Ken is lucky to be at CDTA. And he says, like any job, it's what you make of it. A big part he enjoys is that there's something new every single day. What were you operating on?
10 Western Avenue.
10 Western Avenue. So if you're familiar with Western Avenue, it starts in downtown Albany, and it moves up through the neighborhoods, and it ends up at Albany.
No, not New York. Well, it goes by New York. Doesn't go in it.
You want to make 30 years? Doesn't go in anymore. You're right. That's what the 11 and the 12 is for, and it's a test of the CEO's knowledge of the system. Appreciate that, Ken. Got me. I'm waiting to see what Cleveland does when he gets up here. In his free time, Ken enjoys bowling, shooting pool, traveling, and spending time with his 2 daughters. And Jamie Watson does all these interviews, and when she asked Ken, when do you think you might hang up the uniform? And he said, no plans, hope to be here for another 20 years. My kind of guy. All the best. Congratulations, Ken, on 20 years of great service. Might want to stay close. Get a McDonald's. Happy Okay, Tommy. Tommy and I have known each other for 20 years. We usually joke whenever we see each other.
How you doing?
Thank you. Been wearing the CDTA uniform for 20 years. He is a proud member of the Schenectady Division. You've won a rodeo, right?
No, I participated.
Participated.
About 8 times.
You're trying.
That's all right. You did.
Yeah, well, we thought all you guys did up there was practice to win rodeos.
Yeah, because we don't drive any people around.
Tom joined, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Tom joined CDTA after 2 years in the Greater Glens Falls Transit District, but the story is, Tom moved up here from New York City. And he tells me all the time about how much better this system is than the MTA in New York City, right?
I pleaded fifth.
In October of 1996, Tom made the move to CDTA beginning, it's a common theme. A lot of the guys and gals started in Star, worked in Star for a period of time, and then moved to fixed route operations here in Albany, and quickly found his way to Schenectady and has made a great career serving the people of Schenectady and the surrounding communities. If you look through the comment files, you'll usually find Tom's name. Comments are all good comments. You very seldom will find anything negative or anyone who has anything bad to say about Tom Cleveland. Tom told Jamie that good pay, good benefits, and a stable work environment are the reasons why he enjoys CDTA and has stayed here. Because of that, he convinced his son to join us. He's been a bus operator in Albany now for 3 years.
3 years.
3 years, and also doing the chip. The chip is just like Tom. He's almost just like you, but he's not as good.
He's not as good looking.
Yeah, can't make this stuff up. Tom and his wife live in Scotia. They've got 4 grown children, one of whom we know very well, and 3 grandchildren to keep them busy. When they aren't playing with their grandkids, they're usually at the Y, doing their best to keep fit. Tom says retirement is also not imminent or in his immediate future, and he has no reason to set the clock just yet. So Tom, congratulations on 20 years of great service and great You can tell Dave's absence has got us all a little happy.
Oh, you got the happy man?
Well, Erica's going to take a photo, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, is a gentleman who is celebrating his 35th anniversary in CDTA, Ted Gillette. It's rare these days, although I have a hard time saying this, because it's rare these days to spend 35 years with one company. I know one guy who did it besides you. Yep. I'm not quite sure why he did it or continues to do it. But 35 years of service is a great honor. It takes a lot of devotion and dedication. And honestly, in the job that Ted, Ken, and Tommy do, it's tough. It's getting up every morning, whether you like it or not, facing things that many of us stay in bed for. Absolutely. You know, many of us, if it's snowing, there's going to be 6 inches of snow, we roll over and say, I'm going to call my boss and they can do without me. Well, guess what? When it's snowing, we can't do without Teddy Gillette. He's got to be here. He's done that for 35 years. Alton Ming is the superintendent in Troy, and I'm sure Alton can tell you if you check the attendance book, you don't see Ted's name in it. You check the safety infraction book, you don't see Ted's name in it. You check the customer comment files, and all you see are good comments. I'm a model. 1984, Ted started out as a star bus operator, again, common theme, and moved quickly over to fixed route, and now has been in Troy. Let's see, I've been here 35, so almost 35. He made a quick transition. And when Jamie asked Ted what made him come to CDTA to work, he laughed and said, "You gotta work somewhere." I think you think I was hoping you got to keep it up for us. Listen, I'll just read the script. I know. But in all seriousness, and again, listen to the words, all 3 guys. Stable work environment, excellent benefits, and a relatively fun team atmosphere is what keeps them here. So every one of them had, work environment, good pay, good benefits on their list, and that's why I think we're all proud of the work that they do and the work that we deliver to the people of the Capital Region. Ted's originally from Cohoes. He now lives in Niskayuna with his wife Martha and their boys Philip and George. He's eligible to retire in April, but he doesn't have any plans on hanging the uniform up. I hope you'll go for 40 because we need more Ted Gillettes for that city. Never So this is a little different than our usual. I got to make the commentary sort of on the fly as we go, but these are. Just look at them. I mean, that's the way bus operators, at least in my book, are supposed to look. You know, the uniform standard is held to the highest regard, and what we find is when people care about how they look, usually the performance that they deliver is right in keeping with that. These guys, as I said, you know, you're Teddy, Kenny, and Tommy, you don't hear their names very often because they're out there doing the job, not worrying about the issues that, you know, I hear, the superintendents hear, you know, that Corey hears and has to feel. These guys really are an employer's dream. So hats off to them. They do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Keep the buses rolling, guys.
Thank you. We are going to move into our committee reports. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of talking for the next few minutes. So, I do. First up, we have the Performance Oversight Committee. We met October 18th here at noon. Consent agenda items. This is a good consent agenda item. CDTAs apportion federal funds on an annual basis in support of our bus and bus facilities program through the Section 5307 program. These project costs are funded with 6 federal grants. The funds will be used to support the acquisition of fixed route buses, paratransit buses, articulated buses, commuter service between Albany and Ulster County, preventative maintenance, the bus shelter replacement program, passenger amenities, and design engineering associated with BRT projects. The New York State Department of Transportation requires a board resolution to accept the state funding prior to being reimbursed for expenses incurred as part of this agreement. At this time, we need a motion to accept the 10% state match of federal funds in the amount of $2,790,035 as per agreement K007049. The resolution is found on page 15 of your packet, resolution 40-2016.
For the resolution. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second? Any discussion?
We should have a discussion before we approve it, but I think it's just a remarkable achievement of our accounting people that we keep getting money back like this all the time. And that's a pretty hefty sum, and this is to go into a capital account, is that right?
Yes, we'll be reimbursed for capital projects via these contracts with New York State.
Now, is that going to go into the BRT stuff?
Some of it will, yes, some of it is for capital expenses associated with the design and engineering work with both BRT corridors. Welcome.
I'll do an all in favor again.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carries. Thank you. Audit and investment committees also met during that meeting. The Hugh Jackson Advisors Report was distributed prior to the meeting and was accepted by the committee in investment. Our administration discussion items. Mike Collins provided the mid-year update. Mortgage tax receipts exceeded budget expectations for the last 3 months. We were ahead of budget by 12% for the year. Customer fares have also been ahead of projections for the last 3 months. Wages were over budget by 2% for the month due to the new service, and workers' compensation was over budget by 15% for the year. Purchase transportation was slightly over budget for the month, but under budget for the year. Liability claims down 37% for the month and 39% for the year. We're in satisfactory cash flow position at this time. We'll be starting the budget process for fiscal year 2018 beginning next month, and in January we will have a budget adjustment. The monthly non-financial performance report found in the back of your packets as well. Overall measurements this month were positive. Total ridership up 3.7% for the month. 2 PMIs not on time. Missed trips were at 19 this month. And MDBSI was at 45,208. Scheduled work at 81%. There were 17 preventable and 21 non-preventable accidents. 95% of customer complaints were closed within 10 days. No items were discussed in go to the order or the executive session. That concludes my report. Do we have any questions or comments with regards to this report?
Madam Chairman, I thought we were going to do something about adjusting our budget before year end.
Well, here's the plan, Mr. Young. We wanted another full month under our belts to see, it's likely we're gonna need an adjustment, but we wanna get another full month under our belt. It may come as early as next month, but in talking to Mike and Phil, they thought that at this point, we might as well go to the 3/4 mark, and the 3/4 mark would be January. There's no urgency. We will do it though.
Well, the only reason I questioned it was because I thought we should make the adjustment before we render that initial report to the controller's office.
Well, the initial report goes almost solely, and it has actually almost nothing to do with the comparison to the prior year, which we're concerned about. It will be done.
Anyone else? The governance committee met October 20th here at this location as well. Lisa Morello from Jackson Lewis provided an update on the lobbying activities. She advises that her and her team are working with CDTA staff to develop a strategy for the upcoming year. She asked Carm to put together a list of issues and accomplishments and the cost associated to move CDTA agenda forward. In the context of coming up with that list, there will be a review of CDTA's successes throughout the years and the region's successes as well. With the uptick in economic development and involvement of CDTA, Lisa and her team will focus on the growth in the region and how CDTA plans to meet those needs. Additional routes, technology upgrades, and so forth. She and her team will outline that CDTA is responsive to community needs and additional resources are necessary to accomplish these goals. Carmen advised that plans for CDTA include continued expansion of our trunk routes by adding more frequency, adding service to high-tech industries, enhancing partnerships with Albany Medical Center and St. Peter's Health Partners, and looking at more service for Ellis Medicine, especially in Schenectady. We'll focus on downtown resurgence with connections to and from new housing developments in Albany, Troy, Schenectady, and Saratoga. Lisa said that when her team meets with members, their message will be that CDTA has reached out to the community has responded that they want more from CDTA. The next meeting of the committee is scheduled for December 8th at 11:30 here in this location. That concludes the governance committee report. Do we have any comments or questions with regards to this report?
I think Lisa did mention that she's going to meet with us more frequently during the
Next 2 months.
Probably late spring.
Right.
She'll probably be here every month.
After the budget, after the state budget.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, Planning Committee update.
The Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee met on Thursday, October 20th at noon. The River Bus Rapid Transit, BRT, is a 16-mile corridor with 31 stations that will provide direct, frequent, and reliable service from the Albany South End to Cohoes and Watervliet, serving employment sites, a growing residential population, and other areas of proposed development. The River Corridor BRT will provide service with 2 branches, one from Cohoes and one from Waterford, that will meet in Lansingburg and travel through downtown Troy, Watervliet, Manans, and Albany before branching again to terminate at 2nd and Delaware Avenues and South Pearl Street in Albany. It will be the second BRT line in the CDTA system. It will operate from 4 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. weekdays and 5 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. on weekends with 10-minute frequencies during peak travel periods. We will position stations and stops along the corridor. The majority of this work is within highway right-of-way. However, some work will be done will be in private and public state-owned property, which may be adjacent to businesses, residents, or vacant land. We will need to acquire property rights for any parcels that fall outside the highway right-of-way. In most cases, property rights will be small, permanent easements. We must perform appraisals and formally provide offers for fair market value of the land. One of the steps in the process requires us to hold public meetings to give people an opportunity to hear about the real estate aspects of the projects and afford them an opportunity to comment. To hold these hearings requires board approval. All anticipated purchase costs are included in the River Corridor BRT project budget. Staff recommends that the committee advance the proposed River Corridor BRT land acquisition public hearing scheduled to the full board for endorsement, and that resolution is on page 18.
Move second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion. Sorry. Discussion first. Any discussion on numbers? Okay. All in
Pretty
favor?
much just started.
Yeah, it's an important step in the process.
Any opposed? Okay, carries. Resolution 41-2016.
So there was one thing we talked about the cost of acquisition of property, and I think if I remember the way we were doing the report, that numbers are relatively small numbers. These are little squares, parcels of land that are somewhat inconsequential, except we probably are going to be leasing them this way.
Well, some we will be leasing, some we will be purchasing, but they're very, very small. They're just enough to put up a shelter or to stop. The other question that came up for discussion was the liability, and most of these are right on the highway. They're not like in a former gas station or something that would have issues. So the board, the committee was very comfortable with the whole plan.
We don't have an environmental
No.
issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie presented an overview of the CDTA communications plan, which was very good. The plan provides a roadmap for messaging and is focused on enhancing the CDTA brand. CDTA has participated in the American Cancer Society's Real Men Wear Pink campaign, which includes community leaders in raising funds and making strides against breast cancer. Jamie said that CDTA is currently in first place for fundraising. In an effort to raise awareness, staff also organized a media event to announce CDTA's Pink Seat on Bus campaign. And employees that purchase pink t-shirts, $10 each for employees to wear every Friday in October. And I understand there's still more t-shirts that are for sale.
Until Monday.
Until Monday, so if anybody would like to buy one, I might take another one, so.
We'll give you a few, yeah.
I represent Rensselaer County. I bought 5 so far.
Really?
I wonder.
Where are they, Joe? You don't wear them.
It's not Friday.
We held our second
Get the right size.
Second Fall Festival on October 6th at its headquarters. 500 children from local schools and 45 CDTA volunteers and 15 vendors attended the event, which was very successful. We saw photos on that. It really was an incredible opportunity to work with these children. Upcoming events include our annual Veterans Luncheon on Wednesday, November 9th at the Zalaga Post in Albany, a stuffing bus in promotion in late November, first night Saratoga in December, Navigator launch in January, and employee recognition dinner. in March. Jamie advised that we are focused on strategic planning, which includes keeping the plan current, enhancing community engagement, and reaching out to the media with key messaging. The next meeting for the committee will be on December 8, 2016 at noon here at Watervliet Avenue. And we will be not meeting in November because we'll be doing a retreat.
Right, and that, you may want to mention, Norm, that Dave's request, we had to move that from November 30 to November 29. Hopefully everybody can make that. Probably all morning, at least that's the plan. Troy, Hilton Garden,
Right.
which I think we've had meetings here before, I think we're all
Yes.
yeah, pretty
It's a
successful.
good facility, you know, it's the Brunswick County, but.
Basically, have to go up Hoosick Street, turn around and come back down.
Yeah,
Well, sometimes you
You
can
can
take the
take a
left.
left. You can make a left.
Sometimes you can take the left. So, and we'll send a note to you on that, so that the date gets calendared.
I went to the Fall Festival and it was, again, outstanding, and I think there was twice as many people, kids this year, because there wasn't.
Yeah, at least.
It was orderly, it went fine, everybody was happy, the kids were jumping around and dancing, and, it's a pretty good thing. And our CEO has raised a bunch of dough for breast cancer.
I haven't done a thing, Jamie's done it, all I do is wear this nice.
So it's a challenge amongst CEOs in the county, and
Yeah, we're in second place now, we got passed last night, so
Oh.
we have to buy a few more t-shirts.
Who passed us?
And that ends my report, unless somebody has a question for me.
Just a thing I think we should mention in the minutes is Senator Schumer's request for $30 million to expedite the road corridor process. I did do a little kicking around in Washington, and the Secretary Fox is still there, unlike about 50% of the cabinet members have already disappeared because they're out looking for their next job, because they're all fired as of January 20th, I think it is. But Fox is a pretty staunch transportation supporter, and he probably will be there to the very end. The other issue is this is not something that we can apply for, although the application is still in, but it's actually an appropriation that has to be approved by Congress, and that won't be approved until after January sometime. Congress finally gets together. But I know the person that Senator Schumer made the request for. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
We will continue to work with our legislators in the coming months. And I just want to say thank you to everyone in this organization, no matter where you are, for all of our philanthropic giving and what it means to this organization, how much we give back to the community. It's truly a part of who we are. So thank you. Go on to Carmen's report, CEO report.
Thanks, Jody. The written report is in your packets, and I'll just cover a couple of highlights because I think what becomes apparent is in our committee meetings, which often goes unsaid, those meetings last quite a long time, and members are patient and inquisitive and helpful, and we cover a lot of ground. So a lot of the things that are in my report are discussed in detail in committee reports, and oftentimes we get to the board meeting and we basically just grab the quick highlights in order to make let the board meeting move efficiently. But I think the community should know that the board covers in detail lots and lots of things in committee. And as you've all said, the company and our employees continue to produce outstanding results making this company better, making it stronger, increasing ridership, spreading our network of services, adding new things like BRT and transit centers. In 2017 for sure, we will build a transit center in Troy. We have kicked off our taxi initiative and are moving forward with that. You may have seen front page story in the Times Union this week. We've announced our efforts to unveil a regional bike sharing program. Staff is putting together the various background work required for that. We will probably be to the PO committee next month, if not next month, January for sure, with a recommendation to select a contractor to operate the bike share program for us. So things are moving quickly and positively here at CDTA. Something you may not...
That was a nice headline.
It was a nice headline, and I can't tell you the last time we were front page above the fold. And for those of you that understand the communication business, publicity is paid for, and promotions are prayed for. That didn't cost us anything, but there's a lot of hard staff work behind that. So, hats off to our communications staff. It's not one person, and basically everybody else who supports it. It also shows you how far we've come in the community, because there was a day when I think the newspaper would rather not print than have CDTA on the front page. So we've done, I think, a lot of good work. Something you haven't heard about in a while, but I wanted to remind you that the Transportation Research Center, this is TRC as they've come to be known here, the company that performs our maintenance audit, has completed their work. They're now compiling their final report, and Lance and his team are likely, with some luck, will be able to present the findings to you at the December PO meeting. No reason to expect any variance of great degree from the usual stellar performance. And back to the reports that the board gets in PO, we're on top of that. There are several maintenance indicators in our monthly reports. So I think what TRC will report is consistent with what Lance and management have been reporting to the board. But it's always great to get that independent outside perspective, and they always give us something to think about, something to consider, and usually 2 or 3 things for Lance and his people to do to make the maintenance operation better.
That's the purpose of the report, right? I mean,
it is the
how we
purpose.
know
It is the purpose, and that's also come full cycle for those of us that remember. It used to be a report, basically because we were in crisis. We're certainly not in crisis any longer, and I think we have developed a maintenance shop that could stand the test against any maintenance shop of similar size throughout the country. Jamie presented a snapshot of our communications program, and you've all talked about some of the fundraising activities that we're doing. We're involved with Real Men Wear Pink. We're involved with the United Way, and many have asked, the Fall Festival, what's really the purpose? Bring a bunch of kids here to have fun. Well, a lot of these things go way deeper than that. And what we're trying to do is constantly improve the visibility and image and brand of CDTA. It's been something that I've been particularly focused on, and I think, if I may say so myself, it pays dividends in many, many, many ways. We are certainly, I think, more well respected in the community. I think we are, when we make visits to legislators and mayors, Joe knows because he makes a lot of these visits with me to different levels of government. They know who we are, they know the work we do. We don't have to constantly educate and re-educate. So that's sort of the public facing of it. But the internal benefits are things that sometimes are really hard to measure, but you just sort of see them, feel them, and sense them. And especially the Fall Festival and the United Way in particular, and the Pink campaign. you see people here at CDTA working with people and helping people and running raffles. I mean, to watch general counsel, herd young children together and organize them to play games, to get the director of maintenance to, work with others and play with the young kids and tell them why CDTA is important to what they do. Jamie told you some of the stories, some of the heartbreak stories. Pull at your heart story. The city of Albany kids, probably couldn't come here if we, had to charge them $1, for popcorn or a pumpkin. All that stuff resonates in the community, and all that stuff gets back to their parents and gets back to their aunts and their uncles and their, whoever it might be, and it just makes us better. It makes us stronger. And I've had also future bus riders. Yeah. And the City of Albany School District, thanks, John's done a lot of work here over the last several years. They're, if not our major ridership and UA partner, if they're not number one, they're number two.
Number one in one category, number two in the other.
Well, there you go. So all the more reason. So I just thought it was appropriate to talk about why we do these things.
That is, that's a great point, because one thing you notice, all of our people were laughing, having a good time.
That doesn't
Except
happen.
Lance let that one kid blow the horn, and that dump. About 600 times.
I was on the games. I was chasing ping pong balls and frisbees.
But I just thought it was appropriate to talk about, and sometimes there are some agencies that were critical of our efforts in that regard, and I never forget that. And when you're audited, the question is how does this strengthen the company, and how is it consistent with the mission? And my answer is a resounding yes. Absolutely. It's a resounding yes. And we'll take the criticism if need be. Last week, the New York Public Transit Association held its fall conference over at the Desmond. A lot of our staff were there for the educational components. It was well attended. About 350 people from across the state, across the country were there. Several of our people were in leadership roles. Tom Guttersberg talked about the work we're doing in Prepayment Navigator. I think it went well because it seemed like a lot of people had questions, especially wanted to grab them in the hall. And that's usually the sign of a good presentation when they grab you in the hall and say, ask you to tell them more.
Caroline, would you put something in the minutes as to the achievements that or the educational values of the meeting, so that
Sure.
It appears someplace?
Oh, sure.
Because you know as well as I do, next time the state comes in, they're going to want to know why we spend X number of dollars on a festival.
Well, here's a note that we'll add too. A centerpiece of the conference is something called Public Transportation Leadership Institute. It's a year-long learning program, and I'm proud to tell you that the 2017 class welcomed Dan Holdsworth and Patricia Cooper, members of the finance staff. They work for Mike, both actually relatively new hires, at least in CDTA terms, relatively new hires. The 2016 class graduated, and Joe Landy and Rich Nasso, wrong classes. Gary Guy and Dave Williams, two superintendents, maintenance and transportation in that class. And in the original class 2 years ago was Rich Nasso and Joe Landy. So all those people either participated in or are participating in year-long learning with their peers in the transit industry. And basically it's for people who want to be in the executive leadership track. So, hats off to our employees, and I'm really proud to see the work that they're doing. That's just one example of some of the things that our people are doing to be better. To be better here at CDTA, or to be better if they choose to be at their next job, which might be someone else.
I don't question the value of the program.
I'm with you.
A brief memo at the bottom of your footnotes.
And it was my last meeting as association president. I'll actually get to go to a meeting and just sort of be an observer rather than always having a job to do and having a person chase me, telling me I had to be over here or I had to be over there. It was an enjoyable, great 6 years, and I passed the leadership torch to Bill Carpenter, the CEO from Rochester. Three things that I'm proud of. One is, over the 6 years, one is getting RGRTA from Rochester back in the fold. You may or may not know that for a while they were not members of NIPTA. I convinced Bill that we needed them and that they were a vital part of the association. And I think it's made us stronger, a better association. The second is the PTLI program was born out of really a need to have a succession plan in our industry, and really I think the hope for our industry of the younger people, the people who are new to the industry, and finding ways to make them better. And last but not least, it's the same thing that we've done here. I think we've changed the tone of the conversation at the Capitol. No longer are we viewed as a tin cup organization. A tin cup organization is one that's always tapping the tin saying, give us some more money, just because we need it. I'm convinced that no one really cares. But if you start to explain and highlight and educate about why you're important, people care. And we've been able to do that at the association level. We've certainly been able to do that at CDTA because we point to our success. We point to what we're doing that works. Mr. Young and I talked about some things that were in the minutes from last month's meeting, and he's going to talk about just a slight correction that may be necessary. But there was a question last month about transfers, and perhaps they're still difficult to make. And frankly, in any system, transfers are an issue. A one trip, one seat ride is what people want. Whenever you ask them to transfer, transit becomes less appealing. But what we have done is we have focused on frequency on routes, and we've increased frequency. We now have some routes that operate 10 to 12 minute frequencies. That makes transfers very easy, very efficient. And honestly, if you go and look at systems, if you look at systems in upstate New York, we're the only system in upstate New York that can point to routes that operate at 10 or 12 minute frequencies. Most systems in upstate New York consider 20 minutes good. 20 minutes, at least with our staff, is failure on trunk routes. I mean, they don't accept it. It's not in their vocabulary. We're looking to get it, if we can, get things under 10. It's expensive, it's costly, it's difficult for the transportation maintenance people to monitor. But we never promised them a rose garden when it came to management. But we've been very successful there in that regard. And the other issue was some of our electronic things on buses, like in the rear of the bus, there's an electronic display which shows you the block number. Some customers use that to know what that bus is, and when it's in the rear, if you see that, it usually means that you've missed the bus. And I understand that. That's a common complaint among our customers. But we think because we've made the frequencies and the service is so good and so reliable, and as you hear Chris and Thomas tell you all the time, and John, with all our mobile apps that allow you to get information, I think we've reduced the need of, or actually reduced the customer frustration when they see the bus passing them and they say, oh, I know that was my bus. I think that happens, especially if you look at the complaints, that happens less and less. So thanks to Mr. Young for noting that.
Madam Chairman, I'd just like to move that we amend our September 20th minutes to add comments or remarks underneath the last two bullets on page 4 of the report.
The issue, Denise, I thought I responded to that, but apparently we did not. We just moved along. Mark had raised those.
Right.
And I think he raised it as just a point of reference.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
With that, Madam Chairman, I move the approval of September 20th minutes.
We have a second? Second. Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carries.
So, that's most of it. The activity section's a little long, I apologize, but as I said, there is a lot going on, and the activity section, most of the time, doesn't reflect only what I'm doing, but what everybody in the room is doing. Just two or three things I want to highlight. As part of the PTLI program, our participants and all participants are given a mentor. One of the CEOs agrees to be a mentor, and they hook up with the mentor once or twice a year. A couple weeks back, I entertained my mentee from Rochester, Ken Balassi, who is a member of he's a scheduler and planner, the equivalent to the people on Ross's staff. He spent the day with me, he went everywhere with me, we went to a couple of meetings together, Cohoes, Albany, and it was a full day. I enjoyed it, and at least he said he enjoyed it. But I think it's beneficial for people to see what people in other jobs do. So I'm looking forward to hear what Trish and Dan come back with some stories. I think one has Syracuse as the mentor, and one has Rochester. That
thought it was a nice bus.
Maybe it's nice. Long Island, but we'll see. Film at 11. I think the rest we've either talked about or sort of nibbled around the edges on. One thing at the NIPTA conference, and then I'll call it a day. Another thing that we've done that I think is really paying dividends. Our keynote speaker at lunch was Tom Prendergast, who's the CEO of the MTA. I can't remember the last time the CEO of the MTA joined us for lunch, let alone to speak. And we've developed a very, very good relationship with Tom, so that when he speaks on behalf of the transit industry. Now, granted, in the big picture, the rest of the industry in the state is about the size of a walnut, but Tom believes it. He does speak on behalf of all of us, and we are working together. He and I have developed a nice relationship. He's an A1 fella, a quality guy, who is a giant in our industry for sure. But it's just great to see the MTA thinking about statewide issues and advocating on behalf of all of us. Hats off to Tom. It's great to have him come up and join us and say a few words at lunch. I know people enjoy hearing the MTA perspective because it is so different, and it is so interesting to hear. So with that, I look forward to time. Any questions?
I have one other thing for you, Carm. What's the status of our water?
Sarah, baby was born around Labor Day. Planned to take a couple of months maternity leave, and she's doing that. She's probably about 70%. She will begin at some point, probably easing her way back in, working a couple days a week, and we'll be back full force right on the holidays.
No, I wonder if you perhaps should give her some clerical support when she gets back, so that maybe she could do some better directing than actually taking the time of hitting the typewriter keys. We've been, like 4 months now?
No, she's been out barely 2 months.
It seems like forever.
It does. Well, I know you like those reports. Listen, whatever she needs to get herself going, we'll give her. But she's pretty independent, sort of.
Well, I know she is, but I just think that you might consider that there's got to be some kind of a backlog that she might be able to, address the audit part of it and not take her time with the clerical.
I'll seek help from our Cracker Jack HR staff. She's giving me the thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing for the good of the order or announcements, anyone? I will say in the upcoming month, Carmen and I are going to be having some discussions with some of our stakeholders up in Saratoga County people representing the mental health and the rehab facilities, so we look forward to that. We'll keep you updated on what's going on there. Upcoming meetings, please note that the November 30th has been moved to November 29th. Please let us know if that works with everything and everyone. I think we've heard from most of you. Then December 14th and January 25th are our next meetings here at 110 Watervliet. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
So November 7th?